Today we are joined by Michele Versace. My humble apologies. Dr. Michele Versace. Michele. There we go.
You got to deal with that.
You got to deal with that. What a pleasure to have you.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me today.
Self-described poet, doctor, influencer, changer of lives, saver of hearts, breaker of hearts. Michele. Wow. Quite a mouthful, that.
And baker and runner.
And baker and runner. I mean, I think that's an adequate introduction.
Leave some shit for the rest of us to do. No. I said it when I first met you. There's one thing being disarmingly good looking. Then you're supposed to be stupid. That's how the world works. And it's fair. Or you're a pedophile or something. And it just balances out. But it's stacked up against me. I was very nervous about doing the show because of Chloe leaving me post it. But we persevere. But Chloe Melville, how are you doing?
I'm doing good.
Flustered already. Blushing. I'm blushing.
Just feeling awkward.
I feel like I'm just going to move my chair a little bit. A little to the left, yeah.
Wow. But let's start at the beginning. It's always good to just bust it wide open. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
What would you say your main sort of identifier is? Because we've thrown a lot at the wall. What sticks?
I think the thing that I probably worked the hardest at in my life was becoming a doctor. I hate to think that I'm defined by my occupation, but I think that being a doctor is not really an occupation. If you think about it, we're actually having this discussion earlier, like there are so many realms within the medical profession that I feel that as an umbrella term is a pretty good expression of who people are. So yeah, I think that if I had to define, like when people ask me, like, you know, tell me a little bit more about yourself, I'm the proudest to say I'm a doctor.
Yes.
So...
But that is an awesome... I know people don't like getting defined by it, but it's not like one... I've never ever introduced myself as a podcaster because I think I'd die of... I don't know, cringe or something.
Just be like, hey, I'm an influencer.
Oh, no.
I have told many
walk
people...
away.
I saw someone described as a South African influencer. And that just... I don't know why. It just, to me, it doesn't make sense.
Michele.
Exactly.
Do you have your own sort of emoji, GIF?
I wish I did. It's actually such a good idea.
There is one that goes like this, though.
But that one's overused already, so I need to like refine it.
Yeah, shut the fuck up, Chloe.
It's got to be this and then the doctor. It's going to be the doctor doing this.
With a little stethoscope going. No, but honestly, like people don't know how to say my name. So really, we joke about this. But honestly, if you do this, I will feel like you've said my name correctly. Even if you call
Did I say it correctly when I was doing it properly?
Give it again.
Did I say it?
Michele. There's emphasis on the E. Italians are weird because they don't use like any additional punctuation or anything. They just believe that people are going to know how to say things. But if you do this, then they'll...
It helps.
Which side of your family is Italian?
My father.
Your father?
My father's Italian. I'm a second generation Italian.
Okay.
Somehow my grandfather from the north and my grandmother from the south found each other on a boat. And they traveled to South Africa, and then they had my father.
So have you got one of those good passports?
I do. I have one of those maroon little...
Mr. Worldwide.
Sam's just with his green mamba.
What do you have?
A German passport.
Oh yeah, that's true. The breakup is imminent.
I need to add that to the title, you know.
Did you know we were dating? Because we get a lot of bizarre hate online, particularly aimed at me, saying I'll never escape the friend zone. I only try and be edgy because it's my only... What is that about? Does it come across, or must we do more PDA?
I think, you got to start doing a little bit more PDA.
Okay, we'll work on. Oh, sorry, I thought.
There we go.
Sorry, you see how bad we are.
I didn't know, but I was very disappointed at it.
Yeah, no,
I'm just kidding.
No kissing on the pod. But we got to get it because people have flocked to this channel now and said, "Who's this hunk?" Are you in a relationship?
I am in a relationship, a new relationship, but it's going well. I came to Cape Town as a single guy, and then, you know, you kind of find your feet, and dating in Cape Town is...
The streets.
I don't even want to... I don't have a word for that.
It must be terrible for you as well.
So hard.
So hard to find it. So hard to find people to socialize with. Oh. You're just a doctor? Oh, loser. Oh, and a cancer survivor? Maybe. That's what we left out of the introduction. I felt there was something big.
That is a big one.
Yes.
But it usually comes into conversation a little bit later. So.
It does, yeah. You warm up to a bit of foreplay.
People really don't like to start talking about their balls at the get-go, you know?
That's true.
So weird.
It also just made me think. So now, obviously, when you're giving people their diagnosis, is that the word?
That is the word.
Correct.
Yeah?
Do you sometimes have to get that Italian flavor back? Like, you have cancer. It's not good. Here's an eye.
I've never done that, but maybe. I mean, I wouldn't mind if someone did that to me.
Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit. So
Yeah, no, I wouldn't like a sort of Borat diagnosis. You got the cancer. Die soon, live forever in heaven. Yeah, no. I don't know where that came from. I'm actually undiagnosed, self-diagnosed ADHD.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Did you watch my Talk and Espresso show yesterday morning? We talked about
no.
ADHD.
Hey, Samuel?
I watched you cooking.
Oh, you missed the best part. We're talking about ADHD. ADHD to me is a really interesting topic. And I'm so glad you brought up the topic because I think it's off topic in terms of what this podcast goes about, but anyway, run with it.
There are no topics.
ADHD is one of the pediatric diseases that I'm the most interested by. I'm not that I don't have anyone in my family that I've had direct exposure to, but my best friend was definitely like undiagnosed ADHD, and I saw the trauma that it created. And there's a cool, because today is World ADHD Day. If you didn't know that, absolutely. That's why we had the Espresso show yesterday.
okay.
So we're trying to promote awareness in adults and parents and teachers about the recognition of symptoms. And I think a lot of people are really not educated about what symptoms are. They think they know, but they don't know how to kind of distill that into like a real diagnosis.
Yeah.
What's the main one you're looking for?
So there are core symptoms, and people often don't know that ADHD are two things, attention deficit and then hyperactivity, impulsivity. And then most people have it combined, but you can have one or the other.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so there's ADD is the
Yes.
colloquial term that people use for only the inattention.
Yes.
And then hyperactivity disorder is actually hyperactivity and impulsivity. Those are the kids that generally, or actually adults, have more long-lasting
Yes.
impulsivity. People that often just make decisions very irrationally. I think that irrationality is what defines undiagnosed hyperactivity in adults, and then inattention is just that classic kid that can't concentrate. Staring out the window in class, can't maintain 20 minutes of focus.
That's fascinating. So if you've cheated on your girlfriend, you're not a bad person. You might just have ADHD. He's a doctor. He did the research for us. Okay, no, that is fascinating. Chloe, what's your diagnosis of me? Yes or no?
No, I can't
Okay.
diagnose you.
That's
All
true,
I
you
know
can't.
is that whenever we go to a restaurant, I have to situate Sam so that he can only see a wall, because otherwise he cannot concentrate on what
but
I'm
not
saying.
in a bad way.
He can hear conversations that are going on, and he's like, these people are talking about this, these people are talking about this, and it's just...
This is why we've actually got you on the podcast for free ADHD consultation.
This is just a consultation.
You get a bill tomorrow.
Back where all my other balls go. No, that's...
We also wanted to ask an important question, and that is, does an apple a day keep the doctor away?
The big questions are KETS.
No, unfortunately.
You heard it here first. Where did that come from? Do you ever, as doctors, get around and discuss these sort of weird anecdotes and these bizarre sort of sayings that exist?
I mean, in Cape Town, if you think about it, a green juice a day makes you a Cape Townian by proxy.
And probably broke.
But the irony is that probably broke. But most of those people are frequent visitors to the doctor. So maybe that kind of answers your question. I don't know where that term comes from. Like a lot of the things that exist in medicine, like the weird sayings, have very deep instilled historical backgrounds. Like, I don't have a good example now.
But a lot of the sayings.
They all come from
A lot of it.
anecdotal, weird historical
Yeah.
moments that something weird happened and then they relay that on. I have no idea. Maybe it's Adam and Eve. Maybe that's why he ate the apple.
Ooh, getting biblical here. That's interesting. But it's also, it leads to another fun question. Ivermectin, yes or no?
No.
Okay, big no.
No more. That's all I'm going to say is just no.
Okay, there you have it.
There's no science.
There is, okay, that's interesting.
Really? Yeah.
Well, no, there is science on the WhatsApp group chat.
The mom in Constantia may know something more.
That's literally where I got given it. I was recovering from COVID and I had long COVID. So I had one of my friend's parents and he's like a strong believer in ivermectin. He's like, Chloe, you got to take this. I promise you there's a lot of research. And all of a sudden I started thinking like, maybe there is. Maybe I'm mistaken.
Yeah,
It's just fascinating how we don't have any other opinions about medicine, but then COVID came along, and because it was so prevalent in everyone's life, then now everyone has these sort of medical opinions. Like, I have Panado. I don't know what the fuck's in Panado.
Absolutely.
I've never questioned what's in Panado. If you actually went through it and broke it down, you'd probably get me with a tin hat on after a week being like, Panado's killing us.
I mean, if you read the insert on a Panado box, you will never look at a Panado again.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, like they have to stipulate every possible side effect.
Okay.
And that was the funny thing about the vaccine, like that exactly what you're saying. It came from this vaccination movement because people don't like to be forced to do anything.
True.
Even if there's science to back it. And they look for then alternative things that they want to back with their own, like, it's such a weird thing in medicine. But it has made practicing medicine and consultations very different. People come with their diagnosis and their treatment plan.
My mom.
And then and then you're like, okay, let's like unpack what this means for you. So, and more, like honestly, in the last year, now that people are coming back to like clinics and stuff, it's been so interesting. And still, like, people's opinion on COVID is just fascinating. Days conversation on its own.
It's always like how guarded people are about whether they're vaccinated or not. As well. So, are you vaccinated? I have rights. I don't have to ask.
Literally wearing
I've got a shirt on.
relax on that.
Relax on that.
He doesn't even clock that, yeah. People are pretty conservative about whether they're vaccinated or not.
Yeah, no, it was a big old
you could also wear a t-shirt saying like, congrats, I don't have measles, or like, I didn't die of polio, and people would be, it's so interesting, it's the same thing, like someone had to take the polio vaccine, and then like now, but all those people that are anti-vaxxers have all obviously been vaccinated. Well, I hope so.
People go like, Daniel Carter's my hero. He's cool. You kind of look a bit like him.
Thank you.
But my real hero are the first people that took the COVID vaccine, because at the height of it, when people were dying in Italy and things were going, they were terrifying. They were like, these brave people stepped up. And I think those are proper heroes, like doctors and podcasters, all in the same.
They are.
In the same mold. Oh my word! What would you say the worst thing about being a doctor is? Because I think it's also one of those sort of glorified jobs where everyone, it's so cool to be a doctor. Well, what do you not like about it?
I think the most distinguished memory I have when people ask me like, what sucks about your job? It was like 2 a.m. in Maritzburg, in the depths. And they called me for a psychiatric patient that had pulled out his catheter. So I want to paint this scenario. So you're an intern. You're like, cool, I'm going to have a 20-minute nap now. Surely nothing's going to come. And then your phone rings. Maybe the worst thing about being a doctor is your phone, because honestly it rings all the time. But they phoned me, and I came to the ward, and there was a man who had an acute psychosis, like a substance-induced psychosis. So schizophrenic, he was delusional, and he had a catheter in because he was bedbound for a while, and like we had to do urine monitoring and input-output monitoring. Like, this guy had cut off, because a catheter has a bulb, and you can only pull it out by deflating the bulb, so he couldn't get it out. So he had cut off the catheter, and he was swinging around the he unhinged part of his catheter, and he was just spraying urine everywhere.
The catheter cowboy.
If you couldn't, it was, if you think about like a helicopter moment with a whip and urine like spreading through the wards. And unfortunately in Maritzburg, the psychiatric
was he on the run?
He was moving. He was mobile. He was swinging his catheter.
For you.
And then we had to pin this guy down and put a line up and sedate him. So I think that there's such a weird thing that people often think that doctors need to. Sometimes you're humbled to the ground by patience because you are the person that is responsible for this person, no matter what it takes. And I mean, I've been crouching in urine, trying to collect stuff from people, and like inserting neonatal drips at like 2:00 in the morning, you know, like there's a moment in that period where this baby's been crying for like 5 hours, and you know that if I don't get this line up, the baby's not going to make it. So there are moments of absolute exhaustion and procedural things where you feel a little bit like, I don't know if this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. That's probably the cooler answer. But to be completely honest, I mean, being a doctor is 60%, 70% administrative work. We spend so much time. Obviously, you can think like, you know, medicine there has to be a system in place. And like I think a lot of people out there who are interested in doing medicine need to just not be, just don't be ignorant that you are going to write a lot of things down on a piece of paper and file a lot of things and, you know, phone people the entire day about medical aids and stuff. So that's probably the worst part of my job. But it is.
How would you rate your handwriting?
It's extremely good.
Really?
Every
breaking stereotypes.
The fuck's up with doctors? It's like, I need this medicine to survive. Scribble, scribble.
And then the pharmacist looks at it and they're like, oh, here you go.
Yeah, you go. Can I have some scribble, scribble, please?
I
need
feel like
it.
there's like a whole different category of writing that's only legible to doctors and pharmacists.
You are right. And I mean, I've obviously seen that everywhere, but I've taken absolute pride in writing neatly.
We should have had some paper here.
I would have shown you. Every middle-aged.
I'm not surprised. You're an aesthetically pleasing human. I'm not like blown away. We haven't got into your early life because we like to kind of, you know, this is us sharing South African stories, people we find inspiring or meet at plant milk days that just catch our eye. And it's always nice to see where people come from because I think that obviously plays a massive role. So where did you grow up?
So my heritage is Italian, like, you know, but I was born in South Africa. I spent a good 3 hours in Pretoria after my birth. And then my parents decided to ship me off to the Highlands. So I actually grew up in Lesotho.
I thought you were going to say Scotland.
I mean, I'm wearing a kilt.
I love it.
That's my only understanding of the Highlands. So I don't know where that comes from. Anyway.
Yeah, so my father was a civil engineer working on the Michele Dam. Which is in the heart of Lesotho. There's Katsi Dam and Michele Dam, so there's nothing there. There's a ski slope that a lot of people know about, but we're about an hour south of that. So they built a village for us. They constructed like polystyrene houses. That sounds bad, but they were very nice. Oh boy, it was Lesotho. They're like, no, number one polystyrene house in the whole of Lesotho. Promise you guys it's going to be great. They go home. They're living in polystyrene. They're currently inhabited by the shepherds that lived nearby the village. They use the lower levels for their horses and they live upstairs. Okay. I'm genuinely not kidding. Anyway, so we lived there. There were about 25 engineers working on the project, and we lived in Lesotho. And all of the families, we were kind of like a community of kids at the same age, relatively. My mom homeschooled us and taught about 7 grades in one classroom. Wow. Is she actually a teacher? Okay, she's a primary school teacher. Wait, so we had
how many siblings do you have?
No.
The commune, Chloe. The communist commune of all these several engineers.
Okay, I got you.
But, you know,
are you listening to what he's saying?
I mean, my mom was just shepherding her herd of children. Yeah.
That was the picture that was being painted.
We lost one to the collapsing polystyrene wall.
It's okay. One's not a loss. We move on. So it was such a cool upbringing, honestly, to be removed from like every racial criminal thing that exists in society. I mean, I was 7 years old and I had an earring. It's not this one, this is a different one. And a motorbike, like a pink little Yamaha. My hair was down till here. And like we were free. As a 7-year-old kid, I could go on my scrambler, call it a scrambler, and I could ride around the streets of Lesotho, and like we were a tight-knit little, I don't know. That sounds like a fantastic, just completely, not divorced, that's too weird a word, just completely sheltered from the sort of modern world. It's like something you only hear about when old people speak about their childhood, like walking places. Now I'm like, okay, sun setting in 5 hours, not gonna make it. Check is 60. Even then, you have to scope them out when you arrive. You're like, exactly. So, okay, that's fantastic. And then after Lesotho? So pretty much my entire primary school life was in Lesotho, and then thereafter a short stint in Pretoria again. My parents were fans of just spending a very short amount of time in Pretoria. I just did 1 year there, and then I moved to Franschhoek, which was my high school.
Where did you go to school in Pretoria?
In Glenstansha. I don't know if you know that school.
I don't know if that's a joke about Constantia.
No,
it's a real place.
It's a real place. It's much like Constantia.
Yeah. The problem with
different.
the problem with the growing up in Cape Town is you know nothing about the rest of South Africa. So people are like, Hillbrow, you're like, sounds nice.
Yes.
You should come.
Great place.
That's fantastic.
Yes. So Franschhoek thereafter, which was very nice. I'm so privileged to grow up in Franschhoek. I do like wine. And I went to Bridge House. Very luckily, I got a scholarship to go there, you know.
It's a beautiful school.
And,
it's very, very nice.
And then were you in Stellenbosch?
I was in Stellenbosch University.
Okay.
Yeah. So Stellenbosch Medical School. But basically, you like to just think that you're a Stellenbosch student, but you actually live on Tygerberg campus.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
not much partying then? Or
you know, partying within the borders, within the boundaries. No one knows about it. But
You've heard of Doctors Without Borders. Now,
mixing
Michele.
some like ethanol with Oros.
I mean, I've had a few nights where I woke up with a drip in.
Self-medicated. That's fantastic.
No,
No,
we really used to do that.
and that's what, obviously, I've just finished my sort of undergrad now and postgrad studies, that sort of stuff. But doctors, lawyers, engineers, all the people you think are supposed to be like these sort of pillars of, you know, like good behavior. You like seeing these people at university, like, oh my God, the heaviest drinkers, the biggest partiers. I suppose you have to offset the stress.
You're also studying to be a doctor at the age of like 19 to like 20, early
24.
20s. So, you know, these are like young kids who have a lot of responsibility, especially when you guys are doing like your practical work. Like I've heard from some of my friends who are studying medicine, they're like, no, or like we had to assist in a delivery, or you have to work on like the trauma center, and that's a lot for a young 20-year-old to be responsible for.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that's why maybe not just like, I don't want to say drinking culture, because it's not always the case, but like people in their social environments, doctors kind of like really try to separate the two, but also kind of use social interaction as like an escape. That sounds really bad, but it's not really such a bad thing. You know, I think that if you've been in casualty for a day, you would understand the psychological and emotional drainage that comes from it. And I didn't realize that until the end of my studies, or kind of like the end of my internship. Like, now that I've kind of, even during my treatment and like been a little bit more doing like media stuff and like seeing that money exists outside of medicine, you realize that you're so burdened. Like literally walking through a medical ward, all I do for 10 hours is think about disease, which is a psychological weird cycle in your brain, because like all I've been thinking about, because you have to think about it because you need to like understand it and treat it, but you don't see the treatment. Like it's like I see the disease and you treat, and then like when they're better, they disappear.
Yes.
How does your brain work? Because I've always found that interesting in sort of the abstraction of disease. And there have been very interesting ways people have treated cancer from a psychological standpoint. So when you go into a ward and someone say, I don't know, Samuel. Think of a disease, damn. Say someone has like TB.
Yes.
Do you visualize that, and do you see it as like these sort of molecules, or you know, they're very sciencey, or is it, do you personify it? Because I'm an insane person, so I can like see this evil creature, not the person, obviously, the disease.
It's such an interesting question, because I don't think it's
ADHD. Yes, sir.
I like that question though, because I think it's an important thing. I think you always relay judgment on people. Like we don't like to admit that, but like every single person that walks into your room or in a ward, like you have an emotional judgment on that person immediately. Obviously, you don't know exactly what their disease is. You first know their personality. Like you first get to know the person, unless it's an acute like resus, but that's seldom.
My arm's missing.
Yeah, that's different. Then you're like, that's the problem.
I wonder what he's like outside of school.
But that's interesting, because I've only once in my life, a person added me on Facebook, a patient. And like, I've never engaged with that at all. And like the one time I did it, I will never, ever, ever do it again, because it was the most heartache I've ever had. Like, you don't realize that this is a person. You kind of, you take their family history and their social stresses and everything into account, but you like medicalize it. You're like, this is a smoker with, like this amount of trauma, or like this person has had 2 miscarriages before. You don't think about the trauma. You think about the like medical implication of their social life. Then you see a picture on Facebook of like them with like their grandchildren.
And it becomes that much bigger.
And you're like, like this is insane. This person is coming to me with, whatever. Some of them are pretty pre-terminal. And I don't know. So that was.
I suppose it's the only way you can actually get out of bed and do your job, because if you got emotionally attached to everyone, it would be impossible.
You honestly don't.
And I think that's why it is like being on the front lines. You're looking at someone comes into an ER, what's wrong? You're not like, oh, I wonder if this person's a good person or what they've done. It's like it's
Absolutely
just
not.
oh god, this is making me terrified.
Yeah, you can't do that.
So glad I chose not to do medicine.
Inverse is true. Like when the gangster comes in with a knife in his chest and like, my best friend stabbed me, or like I was fighting this dude off my girlfriend. Like you can't relay judgment on that person and not treat them.
Yes.
So you just remove yourself. But I mean, the absurdity and that like the 27 guys that, the gang, they would often be in casualty with like gunshots, and you kind of like suture a little bit too hard.
Like, you shouldn't be doing this.
But you're still treating them.
Yeah, of course. So, like, with some moral stitching. Come on, guys.
They
do better.
Yeah, people do that. And they don't put any anesthetic in because they're just like,
That's crazy.
You gotta.
What's your go-to headache tablet? Because I'm interested in what doctors are doing.
It depends what kind of headache it is.
Damn it. He's got me there.
You gotta have if it's like a very hectic migraine. Do you say migraine or migraine?
I say migraine.
The prefrontal cortex headache, that one.
Wow.
You heard of that before?
I'm so impressed. This is the medication.
A general sort of headache.
So people are often averse to tramadol. It's a great headache treatment. We often move away from like non-steroidals because they have so many implications. Like Brufen is a good example of a non-steroidal. Siloxicab or those things. They have so many side effects that it's not worth it. And it depends on the frequency of your headache. If you're having like a migraine, there are specific migraine orientated tablets.
Okay.
That channel the pathway. They're like a GABA receptor antagonist. So those medications, it's very, really interesting because migraine is becoming a huge thing in medicine. There's specific analgesia that's only for migraines. And then very interesting, you can also use antidepressants.
Wow.
Because they have the side effect profile of an antidepressant is analgesia.
Wow.
They often work for people. Yeah.
Maybe that's why I don't get headaches.
So I guess what the listeners and viewers would really want to know is what's the sort of best hangover cure?
So the best cure, if
Don't
you have
drink.
medical friends. No, don't do that. That's
Ridiculous, Chloe.
If you have medical friends, so I think we alluded to this earlier. So alcohol gets metabolized in your body, in your liver. And then a byproduct is that thiamine gets consumed. So thiamine is like a cornerstone of preventing the feeling of a hangover. So we used to put up drips post-party in the lounge. I don't know if I'm allowed to tell people this.
Ivy lounge.
I'm past that now. And you just infuse like a liter of saline or Ringer's lactate, which is like a bag of fluid with some electrolytes and some sodium and potassium, and you put a little bit of thiamine in there. And honestly, maybe it was the placebo, maybe it was sleeping with the drip, maybe it was the fear of sepsis. I don't know. Like you wake up feeling pretty good. So that's probably the best, prophylaxis. And then hangover, I know people don't want to hear this, but sweat it out. That's what I do.
Yes.
You feel like it's the last thing in the world you want to do. Hydrate, do some exercise, sweat, and that sounds like a layman's thing to say, but when you sweat, you're detoxifying through your sweat glands as well as your urine, so it speeds up the process.
Okay. So if you don't have access to drips and thiamine, get to the gym, you're lazy.
Or hit up the sauna.
Yeah.
Or hit up the sauna.
I nearly died in the sauna.
It would be interesting to actually know from a doctor what is like the safe amount of time to spend in a sauna.
Or rather, can I reshape that? Because I've been telling Chloe that I've got health benefits. So going for a 15-minute sauna and then having a cold shower. Have I been brainwashed by Joe Rogan, or am I the next sort of breed of superhuman? Love to know.
First answer, there is no dangerous amount of time unless you start. So we always say, like, when you start feeling uncomfortably, like, tired in the sauna, that's obviously people would just inherently get out. Like, you get to that point where, like, I really need to get out now. That's the perfect amount of time.
Get out.
Because people are so different, it depends on how much water you've drank and how porous you are. So that's very different. Your answer, very interestingly, the science is showing that extremes of temperature have actually proven benefit in longevity.
I'm gonna live forever.
So when you see the Cape Towners in the cold water,
yes,
like it's
Sunrise
the same
swimming?
concept. Yeah,
swimming in sewage, it's good for you.
I
mean, you're gonna live long. You're gonna get a UTI, but like,
or hand, foot, and mouth. I got hand, foot, and mouth I think 2 months ago. I went for
disgusting.
a swim in Camps Bay.
you got it from Camps Bay.
Well, that was my deduction because I knew another guy who'd also gotten it a couple of weeks before, and it was like a 4-day period afterwards.
Yeah,
and I broke out in. We called it Chlopox. It was fun.
Camps Bay Chlopox.
Yeah. Speaking of viral diseases, when did you explode on the internet? Because you've got this massive profile, grab by the balls. All the things will be there. But when did that sort of happen? Did it happen naturally? Did it happen after you sort of shared the story we're going to get into shortly? Where did you see that massive rise? Because you've got a massive online following.
I think, like, this is a good introduction to probably what we're going to talk about next. But honestly, media and people online, I think, are really receptive to vulnerability. So when I was getting treatment for cancer, I started a small blog website. And purely this was for me. Like, I had time, which I had never had before, and I needed to use that time. So I actually wrote while I was getting chemo. I spent about 5 hours a day, Monday to Friday, in the chemo room. And that kind of ties you down to doing something on your computer, in essence. So I wrote about my experience. And what I did was I didn't medicalize it because I wanted to be removed from the doctoring part of my treatment. I told my oncologist, I trust you. You're much more qualified than me. I know what this disease is. I know what the treatment plan is, but I want you to just do whatever you need to do to make me better. And I removed myself from medicine, and then I just wrote about the personal feelings that I had. And people were so receptive to that because I think knowing a little bit more about the disease made my perception of it really interesting.
Yes.
And like you said, I'm a self-professed poet, so I love writing.
Did I say that?
It was in the introduction.
I can't remember anything I said.
It's an important part of the introduction. So yeah, I think it was the vulnerability that really resonated with people. And then the shameless selfies.
Yeah, I can't imagine it hurts too much that you're a male model. Because that is I feel what social media is like, relating with someone, but also it being aspirational. So like, oh my word, he's a cancer survivor. It's also hot.
100%. It's part and parcel, and I'm not a professional in any sense at creating media. I just kind of document my day, and people love user-generated content. That's the future. They love to see that this is not curated and not edited. This is just there's me in a mirror with a pair of scrubs on. Cool.
Yeah, I think you are quite literally. What was that character called?
McDreamy.
McDreamy.
Yeah.
But in real life, which is do what you want with it. But we've touched on it now. Were diagnosed with cancer.
Yes.
Early 2020?
2020.
So this was during lockdown?
Well, literally 3 months before lockdown.
Okay.
Well, before hard lockdown, COVID was a thing, but before the actual lockdown, I can't remember the time frame, but it was during COVID times.
Okay.
So you obviously, self-diagnosed or kind of knew something was wrong. What is the feeling when you've gone for that consultation and the doctor confirms that you've got testicular cancer? What's running through your mind?
My answer is weird, and I always answer the same way. It was how am I going to tell my mom? Weird psychology. It's interesting. You go into this mode where you're I'm okay. I will deal with this. It's going to suck. But But to me, the hardest part of everything was what it was going to do to my parents. I'm extremely privileged to have a family that are like, you know, my mom, dad, their kids are everything to them. And I sat outside, and I like, the diagnosis was confirmed, and I'd already been booked into theatre the next day. It's a very quick diagnosis. And I was in Maritzburg, and I had to phone my mom and be like, listen, because, you know, talking about going to a urologist, I was just like, kind of like, Mom, going to the doctor, like something I'm a little bit worried about. I'm just going to check it out. And she's like, yeah, of course, like whatever, just let me know what it is. And like, then I had to phone my mom and be like, I've got cancer. Like, imagine as a mother of a 26-year-old guy, like how do you deal with that? She got on an airplane like an hour later, and she was in Durban that night. Yeah. So that to me was the first thing that popped into my brain. Like, absolutely the first thing. And I didn't know when I felt the lump. So testicular cancer, young guys, if you have a lump, you got to check it out. That is kind of the crux of everything we're going to talk about today. Just screening and early detection. You
don't just have big balls.
No. If there's a massive lump on your ball.
I got some big old balls. You're not just packing heat. Calm down, young boy.
Yeah, that's the irony. You know, masculinity is defined as big balls, but big balls are bad. So
there's a T-shirt there. No, sorry, a vest.
Yes, a vest. So, you know, I didn't know what the outcome was going to be. I'd kind of prepared myself driving to the urologist. Not really, you're never really prepared. And when I got the phone call, I don't know. I just thought about what my mom was going to think. And then I dealt with it. And what's really interesting about me is that I didn't have 1 second in my life where I was like, this sucks. Why did it happen to me? I was like, this happened to me. What can we do to turn this into success and going forward, like making the most of it?
Yes. Not to just randomly bring or inject Joost van der Westhuizen into the conversation, which I just had. When he was dealing, what did he have? Motor neuron disease?
Motor neuron disease, yeah.
When I read one of when he was also writing about it, I think it's a very sort of cathartic process to write about what you're going through. Yes. He had those initial feelings of why me, and then very quickly, why not me? You know, why should this just happen to other random people? But and I think you've spoken about that in other shows you've been on and stuff, that invincibility or the false perception of being an invincible young person, especially like not saying you're a macho guy, you're more a matcha guy. Heyo. Drinks or something. Another T-shirt. But you know, it's a very weird position to be in, and I think that's amazing that you never had it sort of focused on. I would certainly at least spend the first year feeling sorry for myself.
Yeah. I think also I was reading on your blog actually that you were saying your perception sort of changed. Like you didn't take your health for granted anymore. It's all that sort of stuff that you thought was important, and now you're like, I might die.
I mean,
did that ever cross your mind, like I might die?
Absolutely. Obviously not in the immediate phase, but I think you're like, I might enter the dying process earlier. So we all are, from the second we're born, we're dying, you know, that's how life works. But like when you start to think about it, because I don't think anyone until they're like mid-60s, if they make it there, are like, you know, I'm dying. And I had that vulnerability of how human beings are. And I think what you said there is like, why not me, was the biggest thing to me. And my best friend, who like, we've been best friends forever, her response to this was like, nobody deserves anything. I was like, I don't feel like I deserve or I don't deserve this. But like, you know, you got to make the most of what the world deals with to you. And as a young person, your health is such a privilege. And if you are healthy, it doesn't mean that you deserve to get sick. Or if you're like, you know what I mean? Like no one deserves anything that happens in their lives. It's how we respond to the adversity or the privilege.
Yeah.
I'm all for it. If you grew up in Constantia and you went to a good school and you've made a success of your life and you haven't been through adversity, just own it. Don't relay like what this means for your life onto anybody else. Own your own journey and you will always be happy. Because the biggest misfortune and the biggest unhappiness in the world, I think, comes from trying to understand why something happens in your life versus anybody else's life. It's such an interesting introspection, and it's so cliche. Everyone's like, you know, live in the moment, be present, enjoy your life, distill what's happening to you. And it's so difficult to do it until like you get something like this. And now that's what I do, you know. I'm here, I'm making the most of it. And I get DMs where people are like, yeah, you went through cancer, now you're just posting selfies. And I'm like, I deserve that. You know,
do people seriously?
Honestly, lots of people. I thought this was supposed to be about awareness and like medical many people, and I'm like, dude, I'm just living. I'm showing you that, like,
just being me.
This is what I do. This is how I show you that, like, I am me, and a cancer diagnosis is this. It sucked. There are days when I'm like, I'm really terrified that this thing comes back. Like, really scared. I have a predisposition to something now, but I'm not gonna not live my life. Like, I'm not gonna not do the most I can do with this day because of that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I deserve that.
It's weird that these like boxes that people will put you into. It's like, no, you should be a cancer survivor and a doctor.
Yeah, you should just be selling.
You can't be thirst trapping.
Yeah, just go sell bandanas.
Exactly. Yeah, it's so true.
Sell bandana. It is, but I find it just fascinating also in terms of you never know, you know, what people are going through. And especially we've spoken about that sort of medical component when you are like, you're treating people based on what their trauma is and not who the person is. And now you've had this sort of unique perspective, very young in your career, to be on the other side of the table, being nervous going to, because, you know, your office is your home as a doctor. For patients and normal people, when we go into the doctor, it's usually the scariest part of the year, whatever you're going in for. So to have that perspective, and it's fairly unique given how young you are, that's awesome. I always feel like I'm an old man lecturing people. Hey, young chap who's just a year older than me, you know, really reflect on things. You know,
I think you couldn't have said it better. Like, that's exactly what it is. You know, you have the insight to understand how that feels. And I mean, I forget every day still how it feels to go to the doctor. Because you're like, I'm just this random dude who thirst traps people, and now this person's so terrified to like, and it's obviously because of what the nature of the consultation is. But I always say to people, like, just chat to me. Like, you have the space of absolute confidentiality.
No, you're going to get crazy people coming into your practice. Hey, doctor, my neck is a bit sore. A little time on the shoulders. Yeah, that'll be 10,000 rand for this massage.
Maybe that's quite literally like thirst trapping people.
Yeah.
As a doctor, come to my practice.
That's something else.
Come to the practice, Waterfront Medical.
There it is. And how have you found that, you know, opening? Because again, I think people think, oh, he's in medicine, he must just be awfully successful. You know, you're actually going into a sort of business now with a private practice. How have you found that journey?
Challenging. You know, you go into med school, you learn about pneumonia and like what muscle this is, and like, but like no one ever tells you.
It's a nice muscle.
I worked so hard on this vein.
It's got the N1 over there. We have more got like a suburb. All right, pushing on.
Yeah, so like no one teaches you about finance. Honestly, we are the most financially illiterate people on the universe. Like 6 years, you should be like financially savvy by that point, you know, paying the bills, and like you're still here in med school putting up drips to resuscitate your hangover. And then the next year, like some money comes into your account and you're like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
Like, then you go and spend it on like an air fryer or something. But you know, like...
Did you have the Philips XL or XXL?
XXL.
I knew it, Chloe. Yeah. He's better than us in
so
every regard.
You need that little bit of space. It's so important.
Now I can only do tiny chickens.
Exactly.
Cooking for one, we have to break up.
I mean...
Fuck off. You get the fuck out of here. Call it. If we had a... What's that? Call the show.
Air fryer, I'm just saying.
Size does matter when it comes to air fryers. It's there.
But not the size of your balls. Give them a fondle. If there's a lump,
check it out.
check it out.
What were we talking about?
Fuck, I don't know. I hate you.
Finance. The business.
The business.
The business.
The business of making the money.
Yeah, and you come to a point like now, it's a really interesting part of a medical journey. You do internship, ComServe, like absolute job security. Like sometimes it sucks, your job sucks, but you know at the end of the month, I'm getting a salary. You know what that salary is and you know you have a job. Then comes one day and the next day you get your little certificate saying I'm an independent practitioner and the world owes you nothing. Like it's the most paradoxical, weird, happy, very stressful moment of your life because you're like, I can take this piece of paper and I've worked literally 9 years to get this tiny little piece of paper and I can do with it whatever I want. You know, I can open a practice, I can go work in a hospital, I can work in the oncology ward. But also if I decide to just sit at home and do nothing,
Can also do
that's
that.
completely fine.
Or just thirst trap.
Or just thirst trap.
You know?
Like, and you know, so there's this weird feeling where you've never had it before and you haven't really learned what it means to be financially savvy. Obviously, you understand a little bit about money, but yeah, so that's where we're at.
I think it's also that, and there's all young people I find struggle with this, and it's because we live in good times. Post-COVID, that sort of stuff. I think just in terms of where we are as young people, again, some people have a lot worse off than others. But when you have an abundance of choice, it can be very crippling. So even you get 9 years, you've known exactly what you're going to do, where you're going to go, what the sort of work is going to be like, and now you can almost do anything. And I think that is stressful. It's like
It's like when you're
good stress
at Pauline's at 10 o'clock in the morning and it's full of young people and you're like, what? Why? Who are these people?
Yeah, and then you're like, I'm one of them.
And then you're like, oh crap, I'm also one. Like right in this moment, I'm also one.
I'm also here.
Why aren't you guys at work?
Is Lance Armstrong your hero?
No.
Okay.
I do have a more deeper resonation with the man. Knowing what he went through, I do think he did some things in his life that predisposed him to his disease. A lot of what he was taking are so with testicular cancer, it's just like overgrowth of a certain lineage of cell. And I think, obviously not everything is confirmed, but like growth hormone, supplementation and stuff.
That's actually very interesting.
Yeah, so there's a lot of studies in people that are using growth hormone for like bodybuilding or, just body compositioning or sport performance. There's a lot of data that shows in the long run how bad that is in terms of oncology and like carcinogenic potential.
Yeah.
So he was, I'm not saying he did, I don't know. But I think he dealt with it and he's a pretty successful dude as well in terms of, he went through treatment, which does this huge tax on your body. But yeah, and he didn't really publicize it that much. It wasn't really a defining thing for him. But yeah, he's a whole topic on its own.
Yeah, no, that's true. It started as a gaggy question because, testicular cancer. And then no, nice response. We also like to play a little game here where we read out a quote. And if you can get who said the quote, you then get a prize. So the quote here begins. Hard work, sacrifice, and focus will never show up in tests. Who said that?
Caitlyn Jenner.
Well, another athlete. I was trying to tee you up. I try to help you, but it is, of course, Chloe.
I also don't know.
Lance Armstrong. So close, but you know what? You beat cancer, and as our token of our appreciation. What's in the bag? Yeah. We don't know what sort of barista you are, what level you are, but we thought this is...
Thank you. You know me so well.
We've done our research so well.
It's the perfect gift for me. I'm a trained barista as well. Put that in the bio.
Fuck off.
No ways.
Really.
Oh, get out of
Chloe,
here.
so you know that shit Jacobs you get in the morning? You could be getting latte art.
What kind of coffee machine do you have? Is it Breville?
So at the moment, I don't have a coffee machine. I'm still working on buying the perfect one. It's very expensive. So I just do like grinding. And to be honest, I feel like the French press. In the hierarchy of coffee, French press, mocha pot, AeroPress, instant coffee, which is not bad.
No, the Jacobs was a joke, okay?
And then McDonald's coffee is like right at the bottom. I have been desperate enough to get McDonald's coffee one time. My dad looked at me like...
Yeah, that's a
Girl.
dark place in your life.
Yeah.
But I get it. Sometimes you really need that cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Thank you guys. I really appreciate it.
What is your favorite cancer slogan? Because let me just make it... Give that back. Don't give us that. You're just making too much noise.
I just want to
What do you mean?
Fun.
What's your favorite cancer
What's your
slogan?
favorite cancer slogan? Like fuck cancer, kick cancer. There's so many good ones. What did you ever have a sort of something to hold on to, or something that you've taken that you enjoy?
Cancer or testicular cancer?
Either one.
Well, obviously my slogan is, you got to grab your balls. That's where it all came from. So grab your balls. Don't grab them, but like fondle them gently.
Yeah.
But like it kind of resonates. It's such a good name.
It is.
Because it's kind of what I'm doing now. I'm grabbing my life by what the world has thrown me, and I'm just taking it and I'm rolling with it. And I'm really trying to make the most of everything that's happening in my life. But there's so many cliche cancer slogans out there. I knew nothing really stuck, to be fair.
I love the fuck cancer.
I was
Just
gonna
my,
say, I
my
was
level
for
of
testicular
anger.
cancer, maybe don't let cancer kick you in the dick.
Oh,
I
Chloe.
don't know.
That's a good one.
Maybe
Yeah.
the Cancer Association with a C, with an S rather. We're looking for new marketing departments.
You can find me here.
I'm part of that association, so I'll run it by them.
Okay.
Cancer Association is a great association. I don't know if that's, but they're doing amazing things in men's health awareness.
Really?
The shift from, because like there's so much stuff about female health, and I'm part of Daredevil Run. That's like where the people with purple speedos. So that's happening on the 30th of September.
Chloe, you conquer.
I will be there in my studio.
Chloe, you conquer. I'll
running.
be there. In the Borat
How long
costume.
is this run?
Hey?
How long is the run?
There's a 5K and a 10K.
Oh, awesome.
Are you doing the
That'd be
10K?
fun.
I'm doing the
Of course you fucking are. Why can't you just do the 5K? You could have just done the 5K. My God.
At a base of 350.
I think you're like every straight male's nightmare and every gay male's envy. Put that on a shirt, why
the
don't you?
slogan that. That's the bio.
Imagine that's your new bio. People were like, that's a brave bio, but
Wait, your Instagram bio is sexy, gorgeous, and humble.
wow.
Self-aware.
A self-aware king. Jeez, we love it.
It's
we
the
love
humbleness
it.
that really resonates. I mean.
Yeah.
Now, we've also got some questions that the fans have sent in. So, does the flu exist, or is being sick just for poor people? Wow, who sent that one in? We'll just skip.
so rough.
we'll skip past that one.
Someone on TikTok. TikTok's the
That
streets.
sounds like a TikTok question.
Do doctors have secret WhatsApp groups? Well, not secret, but like like a code goes in. But you have WhatsApp groups with other doctors.
We do. Unfortunately, we do.
Do you go like you
They're
should have seen
the
this
bane of
guy's
my
dick?
existence. And that happens on Instagram. It's not a WhatsApp group. No, the WhatsApp groups exist. They're very helpful, but they're very irritating as well. Like when you're on leave and someone's like, at Michele, do you know what rash this is?
I was going to say, yeah.
I really don't care. I'm on leave.
I'm in Ibiza. I'm specializing in STIs.
That looks exactly like the one I saw last night. I'm just kidding.
Take away his license. Get him back to earth.
The WhatsApp groups exist. They definitely exist. But they're, like, I can't say it better. They're super irritating, but they're super important.
Okay.
And like, in the movies, like the people have the beepers. We don't got that. We just have WhatsApp. So WhatsApp is honestly what runs medicine. If I couldn't hit someone up and be like, listen, I'm confused about this patient. Please help. And we actually have like dermatology groups in big hospitals where you can post pictures of like a rash or something that you're concerned about. So topical things, or like a fracture on an X-ray, and then an orthopod will reply and like be like, you got to manipulate it in this way. So I mean, obviously, as you like you're saying, you can't know everything, and that's why consultants exist. They're like there for the reason of exactly that, the WhatsApp group. And then we have cool apps as well that have been developed where you can put a patient's entire history and examination in, and then add some photos or whatever you need. And that gets sent to a database, and the person on call at Grooteskier or Tygerberg will then see that patient profile. Wow. And they can like give advice, they can accept the patient to the clinic, they can say bring the patient to casualty.
That's awesome.
Very, very valuable in medicine.
Wow.
Have you watched Big Hero 6?
I have.
Do you ever think you'll be that good at being a doctor?
I like to think so, but never that good.
Never that good.
Yeah.
And you won't make... Actually, you could make me cry
Big
based on
Hero
several...
6 is too sad.
Honestly,
It is too
I
sad.
cried like a small child. In that.
That's also like Up. It's like they get you in the first 10 minutes.
Honestly, that moment in Up with like the balloons, I was already crying.
With the balloons.
With the balloon. It is. We've got one more segment we like doing, and we do it with every show, with every guest, when we do our own thing as well. Overrated, underrated. Chloe, please explain the concept. It's too much for me. I just have the topics.
Okay, so if something, let's say we ask you spinach, overrated or underrated. Underrated, maybe it needs more hype, more attention. Overrated, been there, done that.
Sure.
It's just upvote, downvote.
Upvote, downvote. Okay.
Is ivermectin overrated or underrated?
Overrated.
Is
As fuck.
someone feels strongly about that, Chloe. Well, take it easy. Steroids, but with your gym bro. Overrated or underrated?
Overrated.
How badly?
Significantly overrated. Can I give some?
Some
to what I'm saying.
Okay, take it away.
I think we touched on it earlier. Just don't do it, man. And people are doing it already. being huge in the gym is fine. It's overrated.
Only guys are impressed by
Only yourself, probably, and like the bud next to you. Maybe he's not even impressed. He's just like, you're probably on roids.
Exactly.
So don't do it.
The House of Dragon. Have you watched it? Overrated. Oh, I've watched it the other day. My God, incest.
For you? Overrated or underrated?
Overrated. Overrated. The sex scenes are color graded poorly, so you can't see. Like Game of Thrones had the perfect amount of darkness.
Sure, I hear you.
Yeah. This one's just too heavy. Chloe, what's your one you got?
What?
Oh, did you want me to ask you if anything's overrated or underrated? You've got a thing that says overdressed, so I thought maybe you'd be. No, and the last one is, of course, is the Silo Virgin Active overrated or underrated?
I knew this question was going to come. It's underrated.
It's the best place on
It's
earth.
the best place.
Honestly, it is the best place on earth.
Heaven on earth.
It's the Dyson hairdryer. That every time I see that hairdryer, I'm like, how am I training here?
I have said that to everyone. I said there's a Dyson hairdryer at every single mirror. Hello?
Like, I can't afford even one of those for my entire house.
And it's just the people there, like Michele, there is a 2. He's a solid 2. They're just 7s and 8s. Look at his face, he's a 2 there. They're 9s and 10s, just walking and roaming the earth.
Especially on the Stairmaster. That's where you find the hotties, yeah.
Oh, good heavens.
True that.
We must stay focused, brothers.
10 push-ups. No, what a mess. But thank you so much for coming on. It's been insightful. I didn't expect it to be this wholesome. I've certainly learned a lot. There were a couple of words I had no idea what it was about. So I put on a brave face. But it's been fantastic. It's been enlightening. And thank you, for being so generous with your time.
Thank you for having me.
It's
I
awesome.
love being here. I really, like I said, conversation is what makes the world go round. I always say that, and it's been a privilege to be here. Thank you.
Lovely. Chloe, any parting shots from you?
I don't know. Go and follow Grab by the Balls read his blog. That's awesome. And where else? On Instagram?
Instagram is my biggest platform. And then if you can, go give some love to Waterfront Medical as well. That's the new journey. That's what we're doing at the moment. But Grab by the Balls on Instagram. And there's a Facebook page, Grab by the Balls, with a little bit more longer content.
Yes, unless you are, of course, a man in a relationship, then get your girlfriend's phone and just block the account. It's the only way we will survive. See you next time. Bye.
Bye.